And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another episode of Doing the Work, the first show on the Back Home Network covering IU women's basketball. This is our 187th episode, recorded on Wednesday. Actually, this is Thursday, February 26, 2026. I'm your host, Jeff Marlow, joined by my co-host, Kathy Amos. And tonight, we'll be talking about this week's games in Oregon and Rutgers and previewing the season finale at home versus Penn State. The Hoosiers came away. I need to find I've got to find this. My bad, everybody. I have the wrong run sheet up here.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, lost your audio.
So we have wins. We have wins over Oregon, 72-65, and a 76-69 victory at Rutgers last night. That takes the record to 16-13 overall, 5-12 in the league. And that's going to be the focus. Anyway, like I say, we'll also preview upcoming Penn State. But as we do with every episode, we're going to begin with our Hoosier Proud Banner moment. And tonight's Hoosier Proud Banner moment, Shea Chesky. I mean, really, what can we say with the way the year's gone for her? With her 7th point in the Oregon game, Shea scored her 1,000th career point at IU. It only took her 60 games, and that makes her the fastest player in IU history to reach 1,000 points. So congrats to Shea on breaking the 1,000 point mark and being the fastest player ever to score 1,000 points in IU women's basketball history. Our banner moment is brought to you by HomefieldApparel.com. Homefield Apparel, presenting sponsor of the Back Home Network. Homefield is constantly releasing new schools or updating its products for its schools in its existing line. You are bound to find something for you or anyone in your life who just loves great collegiate gear. Not only do you get quality apparel, but you are also supporting an Indiana-based business that has its roots in the Kelly School business. Go to HomefieldApparel.com and use our promo code HOME23 to get 15% off your entire first order. That's promo code HOME23, HOME23, for 15% off. Once again, the website is HomefieldApparel.com. Wear one for the team. And I see Kathy is gone away on me. Now she's back.
I should be back. I am.
You are.
You lost your video at the beginning, and I lost my sound at the beginning. So
we're just gonna go. We're just
gonna keep going. All right. Sorry about that, Jeff. I think you just finished your banner moment. I didn't hear any of it. I'm so sorry. But I do have this.
And as we jump around here trying to figure out what we're doing here, like we've never done this before, we don't really have any news, except I guess newsworthy is this game does still, coming up against Penn State, does have some importance because there are scenarios here where if Indiana loses, they miss out on going to the Big Ten tournament. So it is a big game, even though it's not been a season. But let's say this, Kat, kind of maybe not newsworthy. Maybe this help lead you into the Amos angle. For a team that started 0-10 in the league, it's now won 5 of its last 7. So you at least feel better about what this team has done in the last 6 weeks or so. Obviously, would have liked to have started the season better, the Big Ten season better, but at least they didn't just fold up the 10 and go away. They battled and they've got back to, like I said, they've won 5 out of 7 with a chance to win 6 out of 8 here against Penn State this weekend. So just kind of maybe that'll lead you into the Amos angle.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And sorry I missed your banner moment. I'm sure it was amazing. I think you said you were going to talk about Shea getting her 1,000th point. So yeah, sorry if I repeat some of the same thing you did, but that's just an amazing feat for somebody to get to 1,000 points and do it in only 60 games. So just kudos to her. I'm just so happy that she came to us and became a Hoosier in the her. I think from the time she stepped on the court at the beginning of last year until this year is just night and day difference. And to talk about improvement with the team as well, I think you're right? We went through an entire month of January, 0-10, didn't win a game. And here we are sitting at, like you said, winning 5 of our last 7. And to be honest, I think if Shea doesn't tweak her ankle before that USC game, I think we win that one as well. So we would be sitting here talking about, a team that was actually 6 out of their last 7 and only losing to UCLA, which, who Who hasn't? Everyone in the Big Ten. That's right. Everyone has lost UCLA in the Big Ten. So I just think that the improvement we've seen from this team hopefully will shed a light, especially on some of, a lot of the younger players that have eligibility left, which are quite a few, especially even in our starting lineup. I mean, we really only lose Shea Chesky to graduation and Journey Kiaku really from the entire team. So I'm hoping they'll see that as well, that they've had great improvement, and, hopefully that will entice a lot of them to stick around, and next year we'll build that continuity. But we have this year yet to worry about. And there are things to play for, as you mentioned, and we'll get into it when we start highlighting, I think, Penn State and talking about the rest of the Big Ten, because like you said, there are scenarios that if we do not win against Penn State, we will not make the Big Ten tournament. So they take care of business at Penn State, and then, you're talking Big Ten tournament, and then maybe you win a game or two there, and then maybe you get a nice seed in the WNIT. And I think it would really behoove this team, like we talked about before, to go ahead and take that bid should they be lucky enough to be invited. So there's still a lot to play for, even though there's only one regular season game left. There's a lot kind of riding on that game.
Yeah, ditto to what you said. I'll quote Patrick Swayze here. Ditto to what you said. So let's get into this Oregon game, and again, kind of a game where Indiana gets off to a really good start. They're up 17-10 at the end of the first quarter. They stretch it. They're up 9 at the half, and so Kathy, maybe I'll give you an opportunity to kind of talk about that first half a little bit against Oregon.
Yeah, so there was a couple of things that stuck out to me. First, I thought Oregon, with their defense, really did a good job of shutting down Shea Chesky in that first quarter. I think she only had, she did. I'm double checking my memory. 2 points. She only had 2 points in the first quarter, which we rarely see that from Shea Chesky. But what I really liked, though, Jeff, is the rest of the team in that quarter stepped up. We had 6 players score in that first quarter. There's been games this year that we haven't said we've had 6 players score. So to have 6 players, all score, and 5 of them stepping up to help when Shea was getting shut down by Oregon, I thought that was great. The other thing I liked, especially coming into that second quarter, I thought just in general in this game, they really did a good job on. This became like a good coming out party for Odessa. I think we'll end up talking about her probably a little bit later, especially. But she just had a really, really nice game. And I've seen a lot of improvement from Odessa over the last 2 months as well, especially starting from January, when she took over that starting spot. She ended up playing 28 minutes in this game. So in general, I just thought that the team did a nice job stepping up around Shea. It was a pretty well-balanced scoring attack in that first half. And they did something we haven't seen a lot, which was, making a concerted effort to go down low to Odessa. So those were a couple of the quick observations I had in the first half.
But with that, Kathy, they didn't shoot particularly outstanding in the first half. They only shot 44% in the first half. Yep. So it wasn't like they were shooting lights out. So they built a 9-point lead, in essence, by playing, just, battling through a little bit of the adversity. I don't know. I don't have the breakdown of turnovers, but they finished the game with how many?
8 in the first half. Yeah.
Okay. So 8 turnovers. So they battled through a little adversity. I like Nguyen's game against Oregon. I just wish she picks up some really kind of silly fouls. Yes. And I wish she wouldn't, because I wish she learned that she needs to stay on the floor. She's one right now that we need to get 34, 35 minutes out of. Yeah. And with that, but then jump to the second half, another third quarter Blues. They didn't play well in the third quarter. Oregon cuts the lead all the way back to 1. And if I remember right, I think Oregon even had a lead at one point in the third quarter, maybe even the beginning of the fourth quarter, where it was that 1 point kind of game back and forth for a little bit. But then in the fourth quarter, and I'll kind of throw it to you to kind of talk about it a little bit more in depth, Indiana found their shooting stroke. They shot IU shot 77% in the fourth quarter. They win the fourth quarter by 6, which again, they get out of Dodge with a 78 or 72-65 win. So kind of talk about that second half, because it was kind of a tale of 2 quarters there.
Yeah, absolutely. That third quarter, again, just Just really bad shooting from us. We had turnovers again. I think 9 of our 17 turnovers here, according to the stats broadcast page, came in that third quarter, which kind of jogs my memory as well. And, that contributed 13 Oregon points off of turnovers just in the third quarter alone. If I remember, Jeff, in my notes, at least this is what I have, that we didn't make a field goal in that quarter. All of our points, I think,
Correct.
came from the line in that quarter, which was only 7. But at one point we were up by 15 and we let that almost completely slip away, as you mentioned, going into the fourth quarter. But then, of course, Shay did her thing. And boy, she came out in that fourth quarter. And I think she said, you know what? This is my last game at home. I am going to be denied a win. And she put up 11 points on 3 of 3 shooting. All of them from 3-point land, made all of her free throws, 3 rebounds and 3 assists just in that fourth quarter alone. So Shay really, I thought, came out to play in that fourth quarter, and she looked like she was on a mission. She's like, here's my back team. Go ahead and jump on it. Let's go. And she really, I thought, drove us to the finish line in that fourth quarter. So gutsy and really great, tough playing from Shay in that fourth quarter, especially. But it really from the second quarter on, but that fourth quarter, I thought she really shone with great talent.
Yeah, and like you said, they were 0 for 12 from the field in the fourth quarter. Excuse me, in the third quarter. So they did make a field goal, only scored the 7 free throws, still had a 1-point lead, right, at that point, but it didn't look good. You just felt like the entire momentum was going toward Oregon, and felt like we've seen this game. We've seen this game so many times where we've had a lead on a good team, and it kind of gets away from us in a third quarter, and then it just kind of snowballs in the fourth quarter. And like you said, Shay especially picked it up on the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, they shot 10 for 13. It was almost, like I said, it was just completely 2 different quarters from that standpoint. So other than that, but I don't really have a whole lot to add here, except I will say this, and I want your opinion as well. I felt like this was the best game. Even though the third quarter was not very good, I felt like this was the best game against a decent team that they may have played all year. Or at least a Big Ten play.
I do too, Jeff. If we look at some of their wins, which, nothing to take away from their wins, but they were all from the teams that are at the bottom of the half of the Big Ten, right? It was Northwestern, Wisconsin, Purdue coming into this game. And so, Oregon was more in kind of that middle-ish bunch, maybe towards the bottom of the middle, but Oregon has beaten some good teams as well this year and taken others to the wire. So I thought this was definitely a gutsy win as well that we needed. Just hats off to the team for not wilting after that third quarter and all of their turnovers, where I thought they just really did a nice job turning around into that fourth quarter. Yeah, I agree.
All right. So, Kathy, you got anything else about the game per se, or would you want to jump into some numbers here?
Yeah, let's talk numbers.
I'll let you go first.
Yep. We'll start out with a negative here. Again, it's a broken record at this point, Jeff. Turnovers about lost us that game. I mentioned already that we had 9 in the third quarter by itself. That was 17 in total, and that was allowed for 19 points off of turnovers for Oregon versus 7 for us. So that was a 12-point differential that team had to overcome because they're just giving up the ball so much. And, that comes out field goals attempts they get 52 for us versus 71 for Oregon. Now, luckily we made 42% of ours and, 4 more 3-pointers than Oregon to make up that differential. But it just is, it's too bad that, somewhere along the line, this team, I was hoping all year they'd clean this up just a little bit. Cause even if you cut those turnovers down by, 5 or 6 and get it down to that 12-13 mark, that can make a big difference in some of these games that, we've been playing, and it wouldn't be so close and we wouldn't have had to make comeback wins like we'll talk about in the next win or get so nervous after the third quarter. But it just seems like every time we talk about where the team starts to take a turn in the negative, it's because of turnovers. And it really showed up again in this game. So those are some of the big numbers that jump out for me.
Well, I'm going to kind of stay on the negative here. You talk about the turnovers. Oregon dominated second chance points, 18-3, because they had 14 offensive rebounds against Indiana, and 11 of those 14 were by a two-take. Ehis Tute had 27 points and 17 rebounds. I'm not sure how we survived that, but 11 offensive rebounds to one player by themselves, to me, is that's like a freak number. I mean, I'm not sure. You almost got to work hard to get that. I mean, not the kid where it's almost, you got to be working. So you're working hard to almost allow them to. I don't know how else to put it. It's like that shouldn't even happen in the law of averages, But the 14 offensive rebounds led to 18 second chance points. And again, that was one of the things that kept Oregon in the game, and when Indiana was playing some decent defense, they couldn't get a rebound to finish off the possession. So that was my stat, kind of negative stat. Now here's a positive. I'll kind of lead you back and maybe you got another positive. Indiana held Oregon to 38% shooting overall. They held them to 3 of 11 beyond the arc, 27%. And Oregon wasn't a great shooting team anyway, but still that's a huge number in a game which you win by 7.
That's right. Yeah. Our free throw defense was good too at 57% for Oregon. Yeah. To your point on the offensive rebounds, 11 of those came from Atute, 11 of her 17 and 11 of the Oregon's team, 14 offensive rebounds by one person. So they just could not figure out how to keep her off the glass. So since we're swinging back positive, Jeff, I'm going to put the number 4 out there. 4 people that we had in double digits. We had Maya Makaleski, Lene Beaumont, Odessa Noyan, and Shea Chesky, all with double digits of 10 points or more. And I'm not quite sure if we've done that. I don't think we've done that in conference play. Wow. If we've done it, with 4 people in double digits, we have to go back to a non-conference game to try to find that bit. Nothing's coming to the top of my head of the last time we've done that. And so again, kind of what I was talking about with that first quarter, I thought it kind of kept up the whole game where it was a lot more balanced. We weren't relying on Shea to get 28, 30 points. Now she still got 20 and still led the team. But the fact that we had 3 other players in double digits, I thought that was just a real momentum here for us.
Yep. Totally agree. I will say this about the overall rebounding, though. Indiana only got out rebounded by 3 overall. And after you're giving up 17 to one player who had 11 of those were offensive, 14 offensive rebounds. So they only got out rebounded by 3. So that to me was a positive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the big difference here in this game, Jeff, that led to that 7-point lead was kind of what you were talking about. We held Oregon to 27% shooting from 3, but we were 44%, 7 of 16. We made 4 more 3-pointers, which is 12 points differential, which is, helped make up for those second chance points that you talked about and the points off of the turnovers and things of that nature. So, it was nice to see that. And again, it wasn't just only Shea sitting out there shooting the 3-pointers. We had all 4 of those players I mentioned that had double digits. Every one of them hit at least 1 3 tonight too. So they were doing really well from beyond the arc as well.
Well, and the other one was that you kind of hit at this a little bit. Free throw line. Indiana was 21 of 26, 81%. They were plus 13 at the free throw line. So you combine the 3-pointer and the free throw line. That's plus 25. But it also tells you how bad we were getting outscored basically in the paint. Yeah.
24 to 34 outscored in the paint. So, even though at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers, it's kind of what we've been doing all year. We're really high up in the country in terms of field goal and 3-point field goal percentage. But we're really bad in turnovers and we're really bad at rebounding, especially on the defensive glass, allowing all the offensive rebounds for the other team. So this is kind of how the season's been. This has been our team. Luckily here, they've just found a way going down the stretch against some of these teams to find a way to overcome those shortcomings that we have in turnovers and rebounding. So again, really good win for our team. Oregon is a nice team coming in here. I think if I remember correctly, they were in the mid upper, or they were in the upper 20s in the net. So yeah. So that was really good. Jeff, that was, I think, my last number on this game.
That was my last number too.
All right. So
Kathy, since I'm hosting tonight, we'll let you go first here on the game ball. And for those people who are watching on the live YouTube feed, Kathy has the scroll going here. And right now, this has been the Shea Chesky Award this year. She has 16 currently. Lene Beaumont was 7, Maya Makaleski with 3, and Big Z had 1. I'm going to throw it over to Kathy and let her go first, like I said.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. This one actually was a little harder for me, and so I'll just kind of talk it out here. And for me, it came down to two people. Shea Chesky, of course, as you just mentioned, been the Shea Chesky game ball for most of the year. She's won by far the most of them. But I really thought Odessa Noyan came out and had a really, really nice game. Again, I thought the players did a ball to her. I thought they did a nice job at putting the ball in the hoop as well, and she ended up being rewarded for that because she had 18 points, which was her, not just her IU high, Jeff, but that was her career high. That's the most she's ever scored in a game. She almost ended up with the double-double with 8 rebounds. She only had 2 turnovers compared to, the 17 for the rest. And she had contributed a block. So she led the team in rebound, led the team in points. And because of that, I'm going to forgive her 4 fouls. She didn't completely foul out. It came really close and that limited her. But the fact that she scored 18 points in 28 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and give Odessa Noyan my game ball for this one.
So I'm going to go with Shea here. All right. And kudos out to Lene Beaumont before I give you the rundown on Shea. Lene Beaumont points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and only 1 turnover. Now, Lene didn't shoot it very well. She was 3 of 9 from the field, but she was 8 of 9 at the line. So I want to give a shout out to Lene here, but I'm going to go with Shea here. 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, and 1 steal. And there ain't part of what I'm going to lean here on Shea is I've called her out here for the amount of turnovers. She may have put points up, but she's also put up, not total, but in certain games, she's 6, 7 turnovers. She only had 2 turnovers in this game. So I'm going to go Shea here, and we'll leave it up to the workaholics to, see who we go. And I see we've already got 1 vote for Shea here.
All right. Well, then we will give that, unless a bunch of people come in last minute, we're going to go ahead and give that to Shea, and that becomes her 18th game ball, 17th game ball for the year. Sorry. Yes. Good deal. Okay. Moving on.
So let's go to the Grace Berger Hardest Worker of the Game Award. And again, the scroll here is at the bottom of the screen. And this is one that has taken kind of a life of its own this year. Lene leads the way with 7. Big Z had 5, and she's not going to get any more. It was pretty much confirmed on one of the broadcasts over the last 2 games that she's definitely going to be out the rest of the year. Maya McAlusky and Nevaeh Caffey have 4 each. Shea has 3, Odessa Noyan 2, Phoenix Stotine 1, and Journey Kiaku has 1. And again, Kathy, since I'm running the host duties tonight, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, absolutely. So my hardest worker would have gone to Shea in this one, since I didn't give my game ball to her, mainly because I thought that, she struggled a little bit in the first quarter and then turned it around and really put in some hard work in that fourth quarter. So technically my vote is going to Shea. I totally, like I said, she was between her as well. But again, honorable mention, like you said, as well, to Lene Beaumont. I thought she did a nice job in terms of, especially the rebounds. And then I thought Maya did a decent job on that night too. So kudos to her. But my vote was going. We'll see where you want to go, and then see if we have anybody vote differently. Otherwise, we'll give whoever you vote for the game ball or the hardest worker.
This is where I had Odessa. I'm splitting hairs here, but it was the 6 assists that gave it to Shea for me. But Odessa had 8, as you mentioned, 18 points, 7-11 shooting. She had 8 rebounds, and she had 1 assist and 1 block. And like you said, only the 2 turnovers. So let's go with Odessa Noyan as the hardest worker of the game here.
All right. That sounds good. That'll be her 3rd one. All right.
So now we'll jump back to the Rutgers game here. And Kathy, for a team that is to a certain degree still kind of fighting for its Big Ten tournament life, this was maybe as bad a start as we've seen out of this team in a while. They got behind, I think at one point early, it was like 13-3 early. And so now they made a run to kind of make it look respectable in the first quarter. They only trailed by 5, but then the second quarter really didn't get any better. They really struggled in the second quarter, but finished up winning the quarter by 1. So they're only down 4 at the half, but they had a ton of turnovers in the first quarter. They felt like it had it was almost like how do I phrase this? I'll just kind of be as bad as it is. It was always like they could care less if they were there. They didn't look like they had any focus. They didn't look like they really knew that this game mattered. That if you lose at Rutgers, now you're really putting yourself in a situation where you must win, because Penn State had somehow beat USC, to get a win. And so it's like, so get your thoughts on the first half. I felt like their focus and their energy in the first half was C- or lower.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in that first part of the quarter. I mean, 5 turnovers in the first 4 minutes of the game. They clearly were not ready to go. And now they got back. They did get down by double digits. I think 13-3 is correct what you said. And then all of a sudden, Shea and Maya hit. I think they hit some back-to-back threes. The couple of them, we got some defensive stops, and we kind of got back into it. But then we went on a little bit of a lull again with the turnovers. And by my calculations, we turned it over 8 times in that first quarter by itself. Not to be outdone by the second quarter, where we came in and I think we had 18 turnovers total in the half. So that would be, by my math, 10. No, we had 18 turnovers total. Okay, so
right.
The stat cast is not giving me good information. I try to do this on the fly. But yeah, it was turnover city again. So yeah, we had 6 in the first quarter and 4 in the second. There, I got it to work now. We'll do what I wanted it to do. But yeah, it was just, again, we came out and it was just turnover city. Then we hit a bunch of threes. And then we'd hit a 3 or 2 and kept it respectable, which was good. But yeah, we were down by 5 in that first quarter, and we came back and won the second quarter. So we ended up only being down by 4 going into the half. But it was just a really topsy-turvy game. And I think, Jeff, the way you put it is focus. That sounded right. I'm not 100% sure because I couldn't always hear what they were saying on the broadcast, but I think they said they did have some travel issues and got in pretty late the night before. Did you hear that as well?
So I did not hear that, but Sean has said that in the Workaholics here.
Okay. Yeah, they did. Okay. Because of the blizzard that was out in the East. So I wonder, you never know when your schedule gets kind of messed up, how that messes up their mojo at the beginning of the game. So it looked like maybe that had something to do with it, because that leads us to the second half, and you can start us off with that, because they definitely looked a lot better coming out in the second half.
So second half, third quarter was kind of a 50-50 quarter. They basically still down 4 at the end of the quarter. So they're going to the fourth quarter. In essence, kind of their Big Ten tournament hopes on the line here. And they responded. The fourth quarter, they played the best quarter of the night. Kathy, maybe talk a little bit about what you saw in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, the third quarter ended up being a tie, and then boy, we just really poured it on in that fourth quarter. Ended up outscoring them 27-13. So I think Rutgers was missing some shots. They pressed, and but at the end of the day, that we ended up winning that game at the right time, right? Like we only led that game for 5 minutes, and it was all in that fourth quarter, where it just seemed like we kind of were chipping away in the towards the first half to get out of the hole we're in. We played them even in the third quarter. In that fourth quarter, we came out and really put up some nice points, the highest quarter of the night by far, and holding them to only 13 points was fantastic. So just, again, a really gutsy win, I would say, especially being on the road. Again, not that it was necessarily a crowd at Rutgers there, but it's still on the road. You're still away from your normal place where you're practicing. A lot of these girls on this team probably haven't had travel schedules like this into, this late into the season for this long, and the travel issues on top of it. I was really proud for how they finished this game. They came back twice from being down 10 in that game. So they just, even though they got down double digits, they didn't quit. So just a really great game.
And they only led for 5.5 minutes in the whole game. They only led for 5.5 minutes, and pretty much in the fourth quarter, because even in the fourth quarter, it was about middle of the fourth quarter before they finally got the lead and really stretched it out.
Yeah. It was, I said it was a great game, not necessarily because it was great from tip to finish, but great in terms of they didn't quit, right? They didn't quit no matter that they got down.
So let's head into some of the numbers here, Kathy. I'm going to go first here on the numbers a little bit, and I'm going to go to second chance points because usually this has been a negative. Indiana actually won second chance points against Rutgers last night, 11-10. I know it's only 1 point, but they won that because they had 9 offensive rebounds and they out-rebounded Rutgers 33-24.
Yes. Finally, a number in our favor that we've been harping on. And because we've been harping on it, we'll talk about points off of turnovers. Yes, we still had 18 turnovers, but we were only outscored points off of turnovers by 4, which I know we still got outscored by it, but at least, we limited a little bit and we were able to turn Rutgers turnovers of 12 turnovers into 16 points for us. So that's what I liked about that number. It wasn't the prettiest of numbers, but at least we didn't get completely, lopsided on either one of those stats. So kudos to the team for at least forcing some turnovers while they were committing their own 18.
So why don't you go ahead with another number?
Yeah. The other number I think that kind of jumps out for me is 49%. That is our field goal percentage. So that's just, again, a really nice number to have. Excuse me. And we weren't completely lopsided with the number of field goals that we took compared to Rutgers either. 53 for us versus 57 for them. And then the same number I said in the last game, I'll repeat in this game, which is 4. And that was 4 players once again in double digits. Now, they weren't the same players, but 4 of our 5 starters, again, contributing double-digit points, including Nevaeh Caffey with 14, Maya Mikuleski with 19, Lene Beaumont with 12, and then Shea leading the way with 21. So, again, a nice team effort here, not to rely so much on Shea having to put up 35, 40 points in the game.
And I'll go you already mentioned the total field goal percentage. They shot 42% beyond the arc on 26 shots. They were 11-26, and they were 84% at the line. So just a pretty good all-around shooting night. It just, like I said, maybe it was because they got in late. Maybe the travel got disrupted. But that first quarter, first half, it just looked like they had very little focus. But they really poured it, like you said, in the fourth quarter. Other than that, Kathy, I really don't have any team numbers here about this game.
Nope, me neither. So we can move on if you want to individuals.
Yeah, let's go to the game ball here, and I'm going to let Kathy go first. And again, we just established Shea with her 17, so nothing else has changed in the scroll that you're seeing except Shea now has 17.
Yeah, that's right. So again, I think you can go a number of ways in this one, Jeff, like usual. But again, at the end of the day, I think Shea just ended up putting the team on her back again. So she ended up playing 40 minutes, 21 points again. She was 4 of 8 from 3-point land, 3 of 3 from free throws, which are real important right now because she is still on the hunt for that 40-50-90 club. So shooting 40 or 50-40. Goodness, if I could get my numbers right, that'd be great. 50-40-90. So and if she's able to do that, then she'd be the first person I think I heard in Indiana history to be able to join that 54-90 club. So just kudos to her. And so I'm giving Shea my vote for the game ball again here tonight.
Well, I honestly thought about Nevaeh Caffey a little bit here. I also thought about, I shouldn't say but Lene had a nice game as well. But I'm actually going to go, and I see we already got one vote to kind of agree with you, but I'm going to be kind of a contrary one here. I'm going to go Maya Mikuleski here. Maya Mikuleski, 19 points on 4 of 9 shooting, all beyond the arc. She was 7 of 8 at the line. She had 4 rebounds, and she had an assist and a steal. So I'm going to go with Maya Mikuleski, and we'll leave it up to the Workaholics, but we've already got one vote in the Workaholics for Shea. So I think we're going to get Shea her 18th game ball here. So congrats to Shea.
That sounds good. All right.
So that takes us over to the Grace Berger hardest worker. And this is now one where Desanoyan is actually up to 3 now. And so as you look at the scroll, just make that change there. So Kathy, I'll let you go first here.
Yeah, Jeff, I thought about Maya in this one. I'm going to go ahead and give my hardest worker here to Nevaeh Caffey because I thought she really looked like she was working hard driving to the basket in this one. and she ended up with 14 points. And I believe most of those came in the fourth quarter, if I remember too, or maybe the third quarter. But yeah, she had 9 points. And so just overall, I thought it's a nice game, especially the second half for her. So I thought she also looked really good on defense and working really hard. With all of these awards, I do want to not be remiss in pointing out, we've talked a lot about points and scoring. And I know Dustin Noyon only had 6 points, but she had 15 rebounds, 10 defensive rebounds in this game. So I can see an argument for her as well. But I landed on Nevaeh Caffey for mine.
I was going to mention Noyon here. The 6 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block. I was going to mention her. I was not going to be my choice. I was actually going to go with Nevaeh Caffey here as well. 14, as you mentioned, the 14 points, 6 assists. I do want to make sure we throw out Lene. Lene had 12 points, a rebound, but she also had 4 assists and a steal. Now, she also had 4 turnovers, and Shea had 4 turnovers, both to lead the team. But I agree with you. I think we go with Nevaeh here and give her 5th Grace Berger Hardest Worker of the Game award.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So, yeah, Nevaeh Caffey creeping up there on that as well. So, good for her. Yeah, good, Jeff.
Yeah, and so going around the Big Ten here, all right. Iowa defeated Michigan last Sunday, 62-44. Michigan State went to Minnesota, number 18 over number 23, and was a 75-61 victory. And last night, Michigan beat Ohio State 88-86, number 6 over number 10 in overtime. As I said, 88-86. Some marquee games coming up this weekend. Number 4 on Saturday, number 14 Maryland at number 6 Michigan or number 8 Michigan. I'm not sure which.
Yeah. I think they're 8 now.
8 now. So you had it from when they were. And then Sunday, number 13 Ohio State at Michigan State. But for me, and I think for us, Kathy, we were talking about this before we went on the air. There's about 4 games you're really keeping an eye on. The IU at Penn State game, obviously. Purdue at Northwestern. Iowa at Wisconsin, and then Nebraska at Rutgers. And so those are kind of the teams that are in the mix for the seeding here, and also with who's going to be inside the Big Ten tournament. Because remember, the bottom 3 don't make the Big Ten tournament, so you got to be 15th or higher. So Kathy, just maybe give us your what you think about around the Big Ten. By the way, congratulations to UCLA for winning the outright title.
That's right. Yeah. UCLA, as expected, winning that outright. They're 17-0, most likely will, again, like I think we said this last time, I think they run the table. They play USC for their final game here on Sunday. But yeah, it was kind of what we expected. UCLA, I thought UCLA might get knocked off at some point in the season, but boy, they just look like a force to be reckoned with. So I think they'll end up being a Final Four team. So no surprise there. Iowa ended up finishing the year pretty strong here. They had those 3 games where they were kind of adjusting to losing Taylor McCabe, and they lost 3 in a row, but they haven't lost any since, and really took care of Michigan at home. It was kind of touch and go there. I was able to watch a little bit of that on Sunday, but then Iowa just came out in that second half and just, ended up beating them by 18. Michigan with their young crew, not only this year, I think they keep an eye on them for upcoming years as well. And then of course, Ohio State, they're 4th in the Big Ten at 12-4. And I think we talked about this before. I think one of my biggest surprises is Minnesota. Minnesota sneaking in right now at number 5 in the standings at 12-5. So, most of it was not too terribly surprising. A little bit surprised how USC kind of fell off a little bit more than I thought, and how much better Minnesota did than I was expecting. But to your point, Jeff, it's an Indiana podcast. So back to the games that matter for us. So like Jeff mentioned, if we win against Penn State, we'll talk about, a preview of Penn State coming up. Then we're into the Big Ten tournament, no problem. But if we lose, is a chance that we don't make it. There's still a chance, even if we do lose, that we'll win. So I don't know, Jeff, you want to talk scenarios now, or if you want to talk about Penn State first and then come back to the scenarios, or what you were thinking there.
I honestly don't know the scenarios well enough. I really don't. So if you know them, Kathy, you can go ahead. But
Sure.
I just know that if we win, we're in. We win, we're in. We lose, you kind of leave your fate up to somebody else.
Yeah, so that's right. If we win, we're in. But excuse me, if we lose, and I think if Purdue loses to Northwestern, we still get in. If Wisconsin loses, we lose, I think we're still in because we have the tiebreaker. Or if Wisconsin wins and we lose, we get the tiebreaker. So it doesn't matter. If we win, then it doesn't matter. So let's just go win. Let's talk about Penn State.
Yeah, I think that's because you start getting some scenarios and it's like, so
yeah, it makes my head hurt.
I still would like the scenario where Purdue misses out on the Big Ten tournament, but I'm not sure that will happen.
Let's see if they can lose. I think if they lose, maybe they're out.
Oh, thank God. Anyway, so let's talk about Penn State a little bit. This game is actually in Bloomington on Saturday at 2 Eastern, 1 Central. It's on BTN Plus. But they just beat USC last night, 85-82. They're going to come in at 10-18 overall. They're 3-14 in the league. They're 3 wins in the league. They beat Purdue in overtime, beat Northwestern, beat Rutgers. Actually, they should be 4-14 now. Sorry, take it back. Penn State's now 4-13. That's where it is. It's transposed 4-13 because they beat USC last night.
I think I assumed they were going to lose.
Probably. So I'll take the individuals here real quick. Keomi McMiller averaging just under 22 a game and 5 rebounds. And Gracie Merkel, who has had a really good year, 19 points and just over 8 rebounds a game. So Kathy, why don't you take some of the team numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. So overall in the net, Penn State is number 88 in her hoop stats. They're 123rd. They score 24.6 points per game, which is not bad. It's 52nd in the nation. That's more than what we're averaging. In case you're curious, we average 70 points a game, but they are allowing 81.8 points per game. That is 362nd out of the teams that there are. That is, in case you're not sure, bad. It's bad. So
it's
field goal is really bad. But they're good at shooting. They can shoot 46.2%, which is 22nd in the nation. Again, for comparison, we're shooting 47%, which is 14th in her hoop stat. From 3, they're shooting 33.7%. They're barely on the positive side of rebounding margin, 1.2. But I went through and I looked at all of their defense number and I started typing them out. I'm like, you know what? This is not good. Like every single one of their defense numbers, for the most part, were all in the 300s. It wasn't just the points allowed. It was almost every single one of them. So if we're shooting and we're putting the ball up, I think this is going to be maybe a high scoring game because our defense hasn't exactly been anything to write home about, but this is definitely a winnable game, Jeff.
Well, and it's why they're giving up 82 a game. When you talk about their defensive numbers are all in the 300s, it's why they're giving up 82 a game. I honestly don't know what the number of teams in D1 women's basketball is, but 362nd has got to be in the bottom 10.
Yes.
I mean, it can't be 380 teams in Division I women's basketball. If there are, okay, they're bottom 20, but that just boggles your mind. So, Kathy, why don't you go ahead and take the IU numbers? Not that they matter a whole lot here. I know you mentioned a couple of them, but why don't you maybe hit a couple highlights here? These would be better if we'd won a couple games and we were on the tournament bubble, but why don't you go through them real quick?
Yeah, real quick. These were updated right before the game last night, so they don't technically include last night, but I don't think last night's going to swing it a whole lot. But anyway, we are in the net ranking. We're 60th. Her hoop stat 63rd. Points per game, like I mentioned, 70.7, which is in the top 100. We're giving up 70.4, which is 308. So also not real good, but better than Penn State's. 47.3% field goal percentage. That's good for 14th in the nation. And 3-point field goal percentage, 37.6%. That is 8th in the nation, Jeff. So again, like we've talked about, it's not been our shooting problems. It is this number. Turnovers, 15.6, which is 136, and rebounding at a negative 1.9. Our rebounding total rebounds that we get per game is 32. That's 346 in the nation. So the other thing we've not been good at this year, which we have been in past years, is assisting. I think it's because Shea is getting and having to make a lot of her own plays, but we only have about 12 assists per game, which is 230. 230th in the nation. So I'm still trying to see if her hoop stat shows somewhere how many 363 teams, Jeff, and that are ranked on her hoop stats. So 362nd is not last, but it's close.
Darn close.
It's really close.
Yeah. But anyway, so again, a winnable game, as we said. This is a game that, if you want to be in the Big Ten tournament, and again, you're playing the first day of the Big Ten tournament. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility to make the run, to get to the final, maybe win. I mean, it's been done on the men's side. Kathy, I don't think this was on the women's game, the IU women's game last night, but I saw this, and maybe this is only men only. I'm pretty sure it was in a men's game I was watching the other night, where they have a thing called wins above bubble. Or something.
Yeah, I've heard about that on the men's side. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know if it applies in on but I think that's interesting out there, kind of introducing another metric. And you got to assume that the men are doing it. Eventually the women are going to do it in the next year or two. So that'll be a number to kind of keep an eye on. Yeah. And again, as we kind of go into the future, but I was like, what? Where now we got wins above, it's like somebody's really diving into some analytics here with the, the wins above bubble,
Yes, so. I heard about that too. So,
all right, Kathy, why don't you give us some Bob Thompson and we'll come back with final thoughts. And I'm going to let Kathy go first.
Yeah, Jeff. So thanks. Like we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show, I think the team is finishing on a high note, and I think there's room for them to finish on an even higher note. No, they're not going to get into the NCAA tournament at this point. Obviously, they're fighting just to get into the Big Ten tournament. But let's say they do. Let's say they beat Penn State, and let's say they go in and win their first game in the Big Ten tournament. They're now at 18 wins. Maybe even win another one. And let's say they get to the WNIT, we can still get Coach Moore into that 20-win season that she's had for so many of her seasons while she's been head coach here. So there's a pathway to it. And I think, at this point, hopefully they're building on some of this for the future. They're building some positive vibes. They're hopefully showing the recruits that we have, already recruited for next year that looks really good on paper anyway. If you like to look at rankings, they look really good. Hopefully it's showing the recruits how Coach Morin and her entire staff help players grow, right? I think Nevaeh Caffey has improved. Maya McAlusky, so much better than where she was. She wasn't even starting at the beginning of the year, and here she is scoring 19 points, in a game here at the end on the road. I think Nevaeh Caffey's improved. Adessa Noyon, I've already touched on her and her improvement. And we've already talked about Shea and how she was from last year to this year. And even within this year, I think she's shown great improvement. So the players that we've seen get into the rotation, I think we've seen a lot of growth from them overall as individuals and as a team. And hopefully that bodes well for the future. And hopefully it will, we've had a really negative taste in our mouth as fans after that January and not winning. And we were wondering about, oh my gosh, are we going to see a lot of people transferring? Are we going to lose recruits and stuff? And I don't feel like that anymore. And hopefully that same feeling is permeating both within the team now and within our recruits that are hopefully watching this and saying, you know what, if they can make that kind of improvement with all of those players, they can help me improve as well.
I will second a lot of what Kathy just said. It has been refreshing to see this team play better in February. As we've mentioned, they've won 5 out of 7. And for especially even us here on the podcast, we were pretty down and starting to get a little bitter at times. And just imagine they could have found a way to win 2-8. Now you're 7-11 going in, or excuse me, you're 7-10 going into the last game, and you're probably on the bubble. So now you get to 8-10, you win a game or two in the Big Ten tournament, you slide in as an 11 seed, at least you're in. So I think that's where you kind of be like, but I agree with you, Kathy. They've shown some growth. They showed that they could handle the adversity. It wasn't nice or it wasn't fun, obviously, but they didn't go down the road of 1-17, and which I think to a certain degree, we didn't voice that, but I think that was in the back of our minds that this was going to really get away from us.
Yeah.
And they didn't allow that to happen. I know we aren't about individual kudos here, but Shea Chesky, mainly because she tried to play in the UCLA game and got injured early and only got either 2 points or 0. She's now just slightly behind. She's second place in the Big Ten for scoring race. So there is a possibility that Shea can be, on Saturday, win the Big Ten scoring race here this weekend. But right now she's second by 0.1. Jelani McCambridge has 23.1. Shea's at 23. And again, I know it's not about individual kudos, but we've been pointing this out the last podcast or the one before, that it's been since the 1980s since an Indiana player has led the Big Ten in scoring, I think. So so that's kind of, it would be kind of a neat thing in a year where you haven't had a lot of team success. But the most important thing is to win on Saturday. So those are my final thoughts. So as we head out of here tonight, our next show will be next Wednesday, March the 4th. We'll go over the Penn State game, and we should be maybe that night talking about a Big Ten tournament game. I think they would start on Wednesday, if not Tuesday. Okay, so they start on Wednesday. Okay, so we're going to have to see what the schedule plays out here. We might be live after that game, depending upon when they would play. Stay, watch us on X, watch us on Substack, where we get our word out about schedule. But right now, we plan on being here next Wednesday, March the 4th. Probably right now it's tentatively scheduled for 8:00 Eastern, 7 Central. But be aware that if the IU plays that evening, we'll probably try and go live after the game if we can. If you want to see us do the show live and be a part of the live chat, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@Backhome Network. Again, youtube.com/@Backhome Network. You can also be a part of our private community at assemblycall.substack.com. And a big thanks to John Ringer for Rig Design for designing our logos. Big thank you to Bob Thompson for the music you heard throughout the broadcast. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back to talk about IU hoops again with you next week. Until then, keep your elbow in, your eyes on the rim, and let's go Hoosiers.
All right. And I confirmed while you were wrapping up, the Big Ten tournament does start on Wednesday. I thought so, but then I doubted myself. But it is Wednesday, and it looks like the first game tips at 2:30 our time, Central Time, 3:30 Eastern. So somewhere in there. All right. We'll figure it out, though. We got to win Saturday, and then we'll go from there.
Correct. So
okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.